Well, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
taking a minute out. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, before we get into your good work, I want to know this. It's the first question I ask. 5 years ago, this pandemic was changing all of our lives. How
Yeah.
did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you do things today?
Oh my gosh. Everything is virtual now.
Yeah.
And so during the pandemic, I still had a son in junior high. My daughter was living with her boyfriend. They had to move back home. So I had a full house. I was in a leadership position running two real estate offices. And I wanted to make sure that our agents were very engaged because it was a company that was we were very much always together. And so I started doing daily things with everyone. So I would do like yoga first thing in the morning, like 7 a.m. every single morning, 7 days a week. I would do like a breath work thing on Friday, and then I'd have education every single day. And then I do like happy hours at night. And so really just trying to make sure that everybody felt like they weren't like by themselves, isolated, completely alone. And it was exhausting.
Oh,
But
yeah.
yeah, it totally changed how we did the business. And what we saw from it is people didn't come back to the offices.
Right.
And we've seen that as an industry. People figured out how to work from home, and so now they just don't go in anymore. So very strange.
What is your philosophy on that? I know that there's people that
Mhm.
bemoan that they want people back in person. There's others that say hybrid, others say virtual is fine. Where are you at on that?
It's funny. If you had asked me before the pandemic, I was an office person.
Yeah.
Like I was the one of the first people there, and I would be there all day. And I was like, I can't work from home. And so then it's like you're forced to work from home. What I realized is that I was able to be way more intentional about my work. I didn't have to worry about commuting, and so it saved time for me.
Yeah.
But what happened is it became a really hard distinction of when did work end. So instead of hard cutoff and then I go home, work would creep into like 7, 8 o'clock at night. There was no like shut off.
Yeah.
And so I got into a very bad habit of like, okay, well, I'll make a cocktail because then that means work is done and I can't work anymore.
Yeah.
And very quickly I was like, well, that's not going to be sustainable. So,
Yeah.
so I had to set some pretty hard boundaries and really just make sure that there was a cutoff. And so now, like, my upstairs is my office.
Yeah.
And when I'm here, my door is closed and I'm working. And then when the day is done, I close my door and I go downstairs and I do not bring work downstairs.
So let me ask you this. On paper, there's a lot that's going on. You're a coach, you're a speaker, you're an author, you're a dyslexia advocate. There's a lot of things. But if
Mm-hmm.
I was to put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day at an elementary school, and one of the kids wanted to know what you did for a living, how do you break it down and explain it?
I'm an entrepreneur,
Okay.
like a serial entrepreneur. I was in the corporate world all the way up till 2022, and I was a VP of a large brokerage, and we had 300 agents, 100 employees, and I literally got a call about a health thing, and I was like, I'm done. And I
Yeah.
walked away from salary, title, the income, the insurance, the security, and said, "Oh, I'm gonna figure this out." And I figured out what it was about my job that I loved doing, which I spoke, I taught, and I coached agents. And I was like, well, I guess I'll just do that. And so that's what I did. And so, yeah.
Do you wish you would have caught it early on, or was the timing right?
The timing was right because I needed to have the courage to do it.
Yeah.
And I needed to have that punch in the gut, like the wake up call, I guess you would call it, to say, okay, enough is enough. You can keep doing this, play
Yeah.
it safe, or you can try and you might fail and that's okay.
So what did you want to be at 12 years old? What was your dream job?
Well, 12 years old, I was that shy kid that felt like I was invisible. And so for the longest time, I wanted to be a police officer.
Okay.
Like I grew up with watching, what was that shit, like TJ Hooker and Hunter. And
Uh-huh.
I was like, I want to be a police officer.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, no.
Yeah.
And so it
I
didn't happen.
wanted to do the same thing. I wanted to be with Poncherelli and Chips.
Of
And
course.
then that show Cops, the reality show came out on Fox. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. That's a whole
Mm-mm.
different thing right there. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. I was even at one point, I was like, well, I'll go into the military.
Yeah.
And so I remember my mom driving me down when I was in high school to do you have to do a physical or something to see if you can pass the physical. And they like you take off everything but your underwear and a bra and you stand in a circle with all these other people and you're they're checking your back and all this stuff.
Ah,
And I was like, I'm out.
yeah.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah, yeah.
done.
Yeah, my dad was in the Air Force and he told me about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that. I
Mm-mm.
just, that's
That's
not the
not,
life I want to live.
no.
So, how did we get here? Take me back to where you were born and raised. What were the foundational seeds that were planted that allowed you to become successful in corporate America and now become an entrepreneur?
I think it was the dyslexia, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I was diagnosed. So I was born in Springfield, Ohio. My dad was in the military at the time. I think we maybe spent like 6 months there. Then we moved around and then was in Boston, outside of Boston, like a really small little town, 20 miles outside of Boston until I was 10. I was diagnosed when I was back there at 7. And because we lived in a rural town in the 70s, they didn't know what to do with somebody with dyslexia. So that meant I got pulled out of classroom and had to be by myself. And so when I went back in the classroom, I just tried to be invisible because I didn't want people to judge me for not having to do the same stuff they had to do. And then we moved to Colorado when I was 10 and kind of that same thing. And I came to a point where I was like, I want to be like everybody else. And so I just started working extra hard. I had a coach, well, it was a tutor when I was in junior high that my parents hired. And I remember going to her house. She was a tiny little woman, Miss Hipsch. She answered the door and when she brought me in the house, she had a limp and she was kind of holding one of her arms like she didn't have any ability in one of her arms. Sat down at the table, starts asking me these questions, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do that. That's what other people do. And she finally said, I'm going to share something with you. I contracted polio when I was a young child. The doctors told my parents I would never walk. And my mom, when she told me, she goes, the doctor said you'll never walk, but you're the only one that will prevent you from ever walking. And so that's your choice. And so she said that to me. She's like, you have a choice. The only one that's going to prevent you from doing all those things that you said you can't do is you. And that's it. And so you get to decide. Do you want to just play it safe, or do you want to lean into it and be the best version of yourself? And so that when I went to high school, I was like, I'm not getting any help. I'm not doing anything special. I'm going to be just like everybody else, which meant I had to work twice as hard as
Yeah.
everybody else. And then when I went to college, same thing. I could have somebody go to class with me. I could do special testing where I didn't have any time limit. And I was like, nope, I want to be same. I want to be same as everybody else. And so it created this pattern of overwork to prove yourself. And so every single job I went into, so right after college, I was the manager of a restaurant. Within 5 months, I was the general manager of the restaurant at 24, managing people that were, 3 times my age that had been in the industry forever, and I was brand new. And it was just because was like determined to just work harder than anybody else.
Yeah.
And when you have dyslexia, you're very creative and you can find solutions to problems faster than most people can. You're super empathetic and able to connect with people.
Yeah.
And I think just all of those skills just allowed me to every single job. I worked at a daycare when my kids were little and I was able to move up quickly and end up being one of the managers and I had no experience. It was just because it was just ingrained in me. Problem is that that's this cycle of overworking. And when I was
Exactly.
the VP, I was working 7 days a week and I was probably working 70 hours a week. And I just hit a wall and yeah, and that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And so being my own boss, I can do whatever the heck I want.
Yeah, for sure. So
Yeah.
at this point in your life, you're in coaching. Who has
Yeah.
been that coach, that inspiration, that mentor for you in your life that's allowed you to finally find your footing and your voice?
I have multiple coaches. So I think it takes a village to work with me. So I've got a business coach and he really keeps me focused on kind of the business strategies of what I want to do in my business. And then I've got a coach. I don't know that I would call her a spiritual coach, but she's more of a coach that helps you with grounding and embodiment and being more of a container with your energy. And so it's more of that kind of work. And then I have a what I call my strategic planning team, and it's all of my business partner and all of my female friends that are all entrepreneurs, business owners, and those are the ones that I throw ideas off of and collaborate with and do things with. And yeah, so it's kind of a village.
So let me ask you this. If you can meet one person alive on the planet right now, like that's a coach, that's an entrepreneur, someone inspirational that you could hang out with a little bit that might help you on your journey, who would you love to meet and talk to?
Mel Robbins.
Okay.
Yeah, that's an easy one. When during the pandemic, she had that live thing that she was doing Monday through Friday, and I watched it every single day.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of just super authentic, shows up just as her authentic self, and I love that. And so she's I think she's kind of a badass, and I like her.
Yeah. So when did you realize that becoming a coach was the right path for you? Did you have a moment with the client? When did you realize this was what you should be doing?
Well, when I stepped into a leadership position at the real estate company, I'd been selling real estate for about 10 years, and I stepped in this leadership position and there was no training. It was like, all right, here you go, here's your office. Best of luck to you. And so I was like, well, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never coached. I've never like managed a real estate office. And so I was like, well, I should just probably get to know people. And so I started talking to every single staff member, every single agent. And I was like, well, how can I help them be more successful at what they're doing? And this was with staff and everybody. And so what happened is over a period of a year, I was able to double the sales in that office. And so they're like, well, what are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm just talking to people. And so then they're like, well, can you take over this second office? So I took over that second office and the same thing. So we had this momentum. And so they're like, well, what are you doing? And I'm like, well, I guess I'm just coaching people. And they're like, okay. And so we ended up taking the entire leadership team through coaching certification. And if you want to change an organization, create leaders that are coaches, because and you don't have to be in the real estate industry. If you're coaching your staff, if you're coaching the people below you, you're just making them a better version, and it just helps the organization. So I found the passion there. I loved helping people, and when people would find those successes, and some of those stuff was personal stuff that they were going through, that's where it like completely was like, all right, that energizes me. And I always want to do things that when I'm done, I'm like energized. I'm not like drained of my energy. And so I think if you can find that, like that's the magic right
Yeah.
there.
So you're the co-author of The Quiet Gift. Talk to me about this book
Yep.
and kind of give me an overview.
Yep. So I have a podcast called Reignite Resilience, and I do that with a business partner. We've been doing it for about 2.5 years, interview people all over the world that have gone through adversity. And we knew we always wanted to do a book. And so we started writing a book, and it was going to be like a how-to manual for resilience. And each chapter was going to be on a different type of resilience. And then we're going to bring in stories from our guests that we had. We wrote about 64 pages, and then we both stopped and we stopped talking about it. And I was like, And one of my coaching clients sent me the book, The Energy Bus, which is a small book, and it's a book in a series of books. And so I read it, and I called my business partner. I said, hey, can we throw out what we've done so far and just start from scratch and write small books, and let's do a series of books on resilience, but let's write them like a story, because people will read a story more than they're going to read a self-help book, I think. I mean, I think there are some people that do that, but I like the stories.
Yeah.
I can relate to it. And so she was heading out of town for vacation for 3 weeks, and she goes, well, I have no idea to do that. And I'm like, well, I don't know how to do it either, but let's just try it.
Yeah.
And so she left. She took the energy bus with her to read, and I started writing. And so this is the first book, and it's my story from when I was diagnosed with dyslexia up through college. And then she's writing the second book, and that's kind of her adult that she went through, kind of burnout and that type of stuff. So that'll come out probably beginning of next year. And then I'm going to start the next chapter of my life, and that was my marriage. That's going to be a harder one because the child one, that's a little bit easier. Once you get into
Yes.
where other people are affected, like your kids and
Yep.
your ex-husband, you're kind of have to be a little more sensitive.
Well, and you got to unearth all of that emotional baggage too.
Yeah, and that's
That's
a
nothing
lot.
to look forward to
No,
at all.
no, no.
So let me ask you this. Um, do you love podcasting? Do you love having the show?
I do because of the people we meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we just have some of the most incredible guests, and I absolutely love it. And where we're at now is guests are reaching out to us,
Yeah.
and that just And then we're getting, and then everybody I meet, get so curious. As a coach, I think you're just naturally curious, and I'll start to ask questions. And I was at a retreat last week, and I've got three people that I'm like, I need you on our podcast,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh yeah, I'd love to do that. So it's just, I don't know. I think if we all got a little more curious, you could realize how many incredible stories that every single person on this planet has. And so it is a passion project. We love it.
You hit the nail on the head. And I think that's the thing about this podcast world is there are so many good people, so
Yeah.
many good directions. It's the antidote to all of the media saying
Yeah.
we're divided and we're so different. And
Yeah.
really at the end of the day, when you get into this world, you realize we're all really alike and we're doing the same kinds of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yes.
what is the energy for you? You obviously have a lot of energy. You're
Hmm.
successful. You're doing your own thing. What gets you up when that alarm clock goes off? How do the
Hmm.
feet get to the floor, and how do you do all of this well?
So I do not do snooze. I've never done snooze. So my alarm gets off and I jump out of bed. And the thing I ask myself every morning is, what good can I do today? That's from Theodore Roosevelt. He used to write that on his planner every morning. And I have a very rigorous hour-long morning routine where there's passages I read, there's affirmations I do, there's gratitudes I do. And then I go to a gym. I always have a workout class scheduled. And so I'll go do that. If I can't go to the workout class because I've got an early day, I'll jump on my Peloton and do a really hard ride. So moving my body. So that hour of myself, just complete creative time, no electronics. I do not touch my phone in the morning. And then I do my workout and then I come home and I'm hitting the ground running. And I've been up since 2 this morning. So
Wow.
the fact that even got my eyeballs open is like a miracle. But when I'm doing stuff I love, I feel
Yeah.
like it just fills your energy.
Yeah. So let's say you had a dream tonight. You ran into the 18-year-old version of you, and you walked up with a book in your hands, like a big coffee table book, and it's your life so far, and you handed it over and said, "This is how everything has worked out so far." Would that version of you believe it?
No, I don't think so.
Would
Yeah, I don't think so. I had such low self-esteem because I just felt like I was so different than other people. I was so shy because of the dyslexia. I just kind of very much shrank and tried to be invisible. And it was really scary putting my book out there, knowing that people that don't know my story are gonna like know my story and
Yeah.
know what I felt like when I was young. So I don't know that I would have believed it. I don't know that I would have wanted to receive that book as an 18-year-old because I would not have wanted to pick a different path at any point in my life because it's led me where I'm at.
Would you give that version of you any advice?
You are enough.
Okay. So, as an entrepreneur,
Mhm.
the thing about it, you always hear about risk and failure and getting back up and keeping on. What's the biggest risk that you've taken? Not only as an entrepreneur, but in your career.
I think walking away from a six-figure job and starting over, not really knowing how the heck I was going to do it. That was probably one of them. Divorcing my husband of 23 years and having two kids still at home, having no idea how I was going to support them because I had never supported myself. Went from home to college to marriage. And so I was like, I don't know how the heck I'm going to do this. So those were kind of the biggest risks that I ever took. And I wouldn't change a thing.
So, of everything that you've done and evolved to at this point, what are you the proudest of?
The book.
Yeah,
Yeah. Just because I had the courage to share my story instead of always sharing other people's stories through the podcast.
yeah.
And so yeah, it's very authentic and vulnerable to share that story and know that you could get judged.
That's a lot. It is a very brave act. I mean, because there's a lot of people out there that are like, oh, I can put my story out there. But if you're really raw and you needle into all of the details of your narrative, it's a lot, to put out in the world for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so let
Hmm.
me ask you this. Speaking of you and your story, everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that gets your book, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
Mm. Who do I think I am? I am a woman who is still trying to become the best version of myself every day.
So if you could get into a time machine and go back in time and see one event in human history, and it wouldn't create a tear in time, you could just witness something with your own eyes. What would you love to have seen happen?
Oh my gosh. What a great question. And I have no idea.
That's like the beginning of that show, The Big Bang. It's like everything's just flying at you. There's a lot that's happened.
Yeah, what would I want to witness? I don't even know. You know what? I would love to be on the earth and be able to see the dinosaurs
Yeah,
walking the earth.
yeah, yeah. See,
It
that's
seems so unreal to me
uh-huh.
that could actually that they could actually be here and walk the earth. I would that would be cool.
I mean, it's like that idea of Jurassic Park. Like if
Yeah.
something like that could happen,
Hmm.
it would be amazing. So if
Yeah.
anybody wants to pick up the quiet gift, they want to reach out, they want to hire you, they have questions, any of the good business, where do they
Hmm.
go?
My website, so PamelaCass.com. The book, the link to buy the book is there, to book a call with me, to book me to speak. Everything's there. And then if people want to come in, when does this air?
I'm
When
going to
does
have it out tomorrow. I do it.
Okay, okay. So we're doing Reignite Resilience is doing a Reignite Live event here in Loveland, Colorado, January 22nd. It's a one-day event, and so if you go to Reignite Resilience, you'll be able to find how to come and see us, and it's going to be a full day. And myself, Natalie's going to speak, and then we've got a guest speaker in the middle of the day, and so we are very excited about that.
Excellent. I will put all these links in the show notes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for
Yeah.
your story. Have a wonderful holiday season.
Thanks. You too.
Thank you.